4-fight winning streak for Henry Cejudo. Wilson Hayes, that was his first UFC finish. Sergio Pettis, and then of course the back-to-back wins over Demetrius Johnson and TJ Dillashaw, all serving to set up this opportunity to become a double champion. Michael Bisping, a lot of people felt, even when Cejudo was having success at 125 pounds, that eventually he would move up to 35 and his best work would come there. Your thoughts on Cejudo, not just short-term Saturday night, but long-term at 135?
Yeah, well, of course, making flyweight, pardon me, was never easy for him. Right. It was always a very, very difficult task, and a lot of people pondered whether or not he would be able to do so. Of course, he did that, became the champion. Now he's fighting at 135. It's a double-edged sword. Of course, he's fighting bigger guys, but we've seen traditionally and historically, people, when they move up a weight class, they have a better time. Look at Daniel Cormier. Light heavyweight goes up there, all of a sudden he's got this crazy knockout power, knocking out Stipe Miocic with one shot. Why is that? It's because you're not dieting so crazily throughout training camps. I mean, you know, Dominic, when I'd start my camps, I'd feel strong, I'd feel powerful, but you're restricting carbohydrate, you're training, you're jogging, you're trying to lose the weight, and you do lose weight, but you also lose a lot of power. Now, of course, he's stepping up a weight class, he's got an extra 10 pounds, he'll have an extra little bit of power, but the flip side, he's fighting a bigger guy that's used to fighting at 135, so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either, Bisping. I think the real situation here is Marlon that much bigger than him right now? And right. When I look at the weight class, weight-wise, I believe they're going to be pretty similar. I think the height is what's generally going to make the difference.
I agree, but there's a reason why they have weight classes, and there's a reason why he chose 125 initially as opposed to 135. When you look at them both on paper now, yeah, they're going to be the same weight. They're going to be very, very similar athletically. But as I said, there's a reason why Cejudo went to 125, not 35.
And I'm, again, not disagreeing. What I'm looking at is saying that I think that he went to 25 to win the belt, knowing that I eventually would go up to 135 no matter what. So I might as well try to go as low as possible and win that belt, and then I'll get the 35-pound belt by default eventually anyways as I grow and get better in the sport. And I think that the 2-inch reach advantage for Moraes is pretty much the only thing at 135 pounds that really makes this fight different. A reach is a real situation to deal with when you're a shorter stature fighter with a kickboxer. However, Henry does have the speed advantage, and I think that fills in the gap of that 2 inches, in my opinion.
All right, well, Henry Cejudo may be the A side of this equation. He draws the red corner because he is the incumbent, the UFC flyweight champion. But this fighter in the blue corner is the betting favorite, and for my money, rightfully so. His name is Magic Marlon Moraes, and really, Dom, since signing with the UFC, he has taken this division by storm.
And when I say that Marlon Moraes doesn't have the speed advantage against Cejudo, I mean in just the footwork and movement in and out of the pocket. When we're talking about hand speed, foot speed in the pocket with combinations, Marlon Moraes beats Henry Cejudo with that. He throws combinations, he ends his combinations with kicks. His best kick is his left high kick by far, and he flows that together out of nowhere. You don't see it, there's no load, it's very heavy, and he follows it up with punches as well. He's hard to deal with because after he beats you up on your feet, then you start forcing shots on him. When you start forcing shots, he's a black belt on the ground. He doesn't just sit and close his guard, he's attacking guillotines, he's attacking leg locks, he's attacking foot locks, he's always scrambling, and if he doesn't get one of those submissions, he's getting back up to his feet, and now you got to deal with this stand-up again. So this is not an easy situation to deal with, especially for somebody with limited fights compared to Marlon Moraes with the experience edge on his end.
And if you look at the people and the way that he's getting those finishes, pardon me, John, my apologies, the left high kick, 1 minute and 7 seconds into the first round against Aljamain Sterling, follows that up against Jimmy Rivera, same move, same left high kick, 33 seconds, and then against the Sunsao, you think he's looking for the left high kick, no, comes in, 2 right hands, drops him, and then gets the guillotine.
Yeah, no surprise that his average fight time, the shortest among active bantamweights right now. I mean, this is elite competition. It took him 4 minutes and 57 seconds combined to chew up and spit out Aljo, Jimmy Rivera, and most recently Rafael Sunsao. And when TJ Dillashaw unceremoniously vacated this bantamweight title, we all knew Marlon Moraes was going to be one side of this equation. We didn't know who was going to fight for this vacant belt, but one thing we knew without a shadow of a doubt, Marlon was going to be in this vacant UFC bantamweight title fight. What are his keys to victory in your mind? He's got some advantages on the feet, most people believe. What does he have to do to get his hand raised?
Why don't we let Bisping go? He wants to talk.
No. Dominic, you are the wizard. You are the expert. I am merely, just here in awe of you,
Man
waiting.
in black.
Yes. Please.
Okay. So what I'm looking at in this matchup is, when I see the way that these two are going to meet in the middle, it's a matter of can Marlon Moraes meet him in the middle and hit him with the knees when he tries to close the distance on the wrestling. From there, he needs to be able to piece together combinations and get the respect of Henry Cejudo from the distance. If he can do that, he's going to force Henry to telegraph his shots. Once Henry starts telegraphing, the openings will be there, the stand-up pieces together. He'll get the timing of the shots. The more shots get stuffed, the more desperate Cejudo gets, and he's forced into a stand-up battle where Marlon Moraes is more comfortable, in my opinion, and then it starts moving towards his favor. So Henry has to get this to the ground at some point, I believe.
Yeah, Cejudo has to get into the clinch. Simple as that. Use the shots to get into the clinch, push him up against the fence, and then use the chain wrestling to try and get him to the floor. Of course, there's two dogs in every race. Moraes, he's going to, move around a little bit more, try and keep him on the outside, fire single shots at a time so he doesn't allow Cejudo to catch a kick or get an underhook or whatever it is. A lot of movement, bang, bang, look for the right hand, look for the low kicks, bring it up high. Just keep him guessing, but keep him at a distance. That is the key to victory for Marlon Moraes.
As you may have heard, Henry Cejudo does have an Olympic gold medal in freestyle wrestling, but he can't bring that into the octagon, Michael. And in terms of the wrestling maintenance and the wrestling repetitions, right? Marlon Moraes doesn't have this long amateur wrestling background, but with Frankie Edgar by his side, he's certainly putting in the right work.
It doesn't matter. I never wrestled a day in my life, okay? But I was able to take people down in the UFC. Right. You know why? Because when you have your fist to set them up, bang, 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 you throw some shots, they bring up the hands to defend the shots, and then look, it presents all of this long, svelte, highly shredded torso that you could get your hands around, Dominic. Calm down. So it doesn't matter about wrestling. MMA wrestling is a very, very different thing.
Right.
Of course, Cejudo can do both, though.
All right, we'll see how it goes. Marlon Moraes is a slight favorite. I'm getting a little traffic in the air. Just waiting on that traffic, Mike. So we do have a co-headliner here, and we mentioned far more pronounced on paper, Valentina Shevchenko and Jessica Eye. It's amazing that it took Shevchenko this long to get that championship opportunity. Once she did, she capitalized, became the new UFC Women's Flyweight Championship. And when she went home to Kyrgyzstan, as you'll see here, she got a hero's welcome.
Kyrgyzstan is my home country, and all people, they love martial arts. Everyone is watching UFC, and of course everyone was excited to see the belt.
Для меня это очень эмоциональный момент, потому что Кыргызстан — это моя родина, где я выросла, где я закалилась духом.
President of Kyrgyzstan, he gave me the Order of Glory. It's a huge honor for me. And of course, it gave me a lot of energy for my first title defense.
Wow, just some amazing visuals there as Valentina went home to that huge showering of support.
I saw that and I thought, wow, this is incredible, but I was a little bit jealous. I'm like, my word, I got nothing of the sort back in England. I'm still waiting for my knighthood. Your Royal Highness, Queen Elizabeth II, if you are listening, I'm a little bit annoyed, but it's okay. Do the right thing, knight me, all is forgiven.
I just don't know what they're going to do for her when she actually wins the belt. Like, how do you up what she's already gotten?
Well, she won the belt. What do you mean? When she defends the belt?
Again, defends it, and wins it again tonight. Like, what else are you going to do? Like, bring the whole country a giant, like, she's gotten everything. I don't know what else you do. She is killing it for her country right now. I love it.
I remember seeing that on Instagram at the time, just thinking, wow, incredible. It's so nice to see as well because, mixed martial arts and the UFC has grown a lot over the recent years. But now, I mean, look at that. Look at the reception now that as athletes and as world champions, the respect that we're getting, it's a beautiful thing.
And it's a beautiful thing, too, and I'm not going to get too sentimental, but when you hear our English and British fighters talk about Michael Bisping. All right, I'll stop it down there.
Carry on.
We're going to move on.
No. Come on.
When you hear some of these guys say, hey, Bisping was the pioneer, laid the foundation, you deserve a lot of credit, and we'll see if there's a second UFC fighter from Kyrgyzstan in the not-too-distant future. Of course, we have Antonina Shevchenko, her sister, but I digress. So, as far as Shevchenko inside the octagon, she is a lifelong martial artist, right? Her head coach, Pavel Fedotov, as is well documented, mixing these martial arts way before it was the in vogue thing to do, and that's why she has really seemed to distance herself from the flyweight competition, at least to this point.
Yeah, I mean, what I see is just, again, she's well disciplined and everything. She's got good defense where you don't see a lot. She's got good power. She's very patient, but more than anything, she just dictates range so well. And you've also seen her submit people. So once you get past that range and you start grappling with her, I think these ladies are Sleeping on how good she is actually on the ground, because she will submit you. She's good on the top position. The thing about her is she's just so fundamentally sharp and very strategic with her fighting. She never rushes anything. She doesn't lose her balance ever. She never forces anything. And sometimes a lot of these ladies are trying to create forced things with her, and then she takes advantage of this.
You're absolutely right. She has all of those skills, and then when you combine that with the athletic prowess, you know, at 135 at bantamweight, she was very competitive. She only lost to the best, but she was just a little undersized. Now at flyweight at 125, you know, that is the perfect weight division for her. And now we're seeing what she's really capable of. She's too big. She's too strong for a lot of these girls. Against Jan Jacek, of course, the skills were better as well. The striking was better. But you see those takedowns there. Once she got the body lock, she just overpowered her. As simple as that. So, as you said, Dominic, all the martial arts skills and training that have taken a lifetime to learn, combine that with the athletic prowess, and now combine it with the championship mindset that she has, the respect that she's getting. I mean, she's like royalty in her home country. Put all that together, that's a very, very difficult beast to beat. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. And you mentioned her as sort of this master strategist. She's even that way with the media during fight week. She puts in the time as a champion, but the energy is monitored, right? The energy she's giving off to the media. She is as calculated a killer as we have on this roster. And as such, as I said off the top of the show, Jessica Eye would appear to be up against it. That said, she's hungry. She moved to Vegas. She appears to have put in all the right work. Your thoughts on Jessica Eye and what type of challenges she might be able to present Valentina?
I think Jessica absolutely has challenges that she can present. She will have to, in my opinion, change a couple things in her game, and all that means is adding a little length. She tends to lean forward a little bit, trying to hit you with the hands and force things with that. You can't do that with somebody like Shevchenko. You got to make yourself a little longer, because if you lean forward, Shevchenko's going to make you pay. The good thing is she's got takedowns that she goes for, and she mixes it into her boxing. However, I'd like to see Jessica add some kicks to start her boxing combination, so she can work her way in instead of just forcing the hands first. As we see here, she does throw them. What I like most about Jessica is that she goes to the body, and she also mixes in her takedowns with the power boxing that she has. These are some of the keys for her that will give her success, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. The straightest and quickest path to anywhere is as the crow flies. When you're throwing spinning kicks and all the rest of it, they're very beautiful, they're very good. Or if you're throwing hooks, they're very powerful. But A to B, that's the best way of throwing. And that's what Jessica Eye does. It's all jabs and right hands. And she follows that right hand up with a second right hand. So Shevchenko might get a little crazy. She might throw spin kicks because she's brimming with confidence right now. You know, she's being heralded as the world champion everywhere she goes. You know, so she might want to go out there and put a little bit of a show on. Jessica Eye's coming in with that underdog mentality. Everyone's writing her off. All the bookies say she's going to lose. A lot of people, a lot of fans saying she doesn't deserve to be in there. That's very, very motivating. I've been there myself. Yeah. I pulled it off. I shocked the world. So there's no reason why Jessica Eye can't do that. These are two people, two human beings, and she's got legitimate skills that put her in this place in the first place.
She really is as improbable, though, a title challenger as we've had in recent memory. Had just one UFC win entering 2018, 3 straight at 125 pounds. She will take her shots at Valentina Shevchenko tomorrow night, and these guys, of course, will make a prediction later in the pre-show. Now, though, we want to show you our prelim lineup, and this gets me excited, guys, because we have not one, but 2 legitimate title eliminators live on ESPN leading into the pay-per-view. Aljamain Sterling and Pedro Munoz, number 3 and number 4 in the world, respectively, at bantamweight. And with respect to present company, the former champion Dominic Cruz, I think there's a good chance that the winner of Sterling and Munoz is next for the Cejudo Moraes winner. Of course, that'll lead into the featured prelim between Tatiana Suarez and Nina Ansaroff. 2 fighters on extended winning streak. Suarez undefeated. Ansaroff has won 4 straight. Jessica Andrade is the new champion. She is waiting in the wings. But Suarez has really been a big story here during fight week. Let's take a look back at the recent rise of the Californian Tatiana Suarez.
I love wrestling. I loved it. You know, I have been doing it since I was really young, and it was something that really defined me. I remember having a conversation with my brother. I told him I was going to be Olympic champion, and he was like, "Girls, there's no girls in the Olympics." And I was like, "I'll be a men's Olympic champion." He's like, "Okay."
As a child growing up in California, wrestling was everything for Tatiana Suarez. Introduced to the sport by her older brother Chris, Suarez quickly became a natural on the mat.
Everywhere I'd go, she would be there. On the mat, she would want to learn everything that was going on. From the time she was in arms to the time she was old enough to walk, it was always us at every tournament. And that's what it was, you know. She just was born on a wrestling mat.
I primarily wrestled guys growing up. There weren't really many girls wrestling at the time, so I just wrestled boys. And when I did, there was like 1 or 2 girls, and then I would beat them up.
I have to be honest with you, no one looked at her as a girl. She was a wrestler, and she made sure everybody in that room understood she was a wrestler.
Competing for Northview High School, Suarez wrestled both boys and girls throughout California and captured 4 consecutive women's state titles. After graduation, she moved to Colorado Springs in 2009 to train for the Olympics. 2 years later, she was the top-ranked U.S. female wrestler in her weight class and on the verge of her Olympic dream until an injury altered the course of her life.
I ended up having a tournament in France, but I remember I had like a really bad sensation down my arm, and I thought maybe my shoulder was messed up. It ended up being my neck, and then because they took a scan of my neck, they saw a node on my thyroid.
Tatiana's diagnosis? Thyroid cancer.
You're almost like in shock, because you're just like, I'm young and I'm healthy.
She didn't ever tell me, oh, I'm scared. Not even when she went for surgery, or she didn't say she was scared at all. She just took it like everything else.
After an 18-month battle that included radiation therapy and the removal of her thyroid and several lymph nodes, Suarez was declared cancer-free in 2012. But with her Olympic dream now stolen from her, she struggled to find a new purpose.
We had a conversation one time about, what she was doing after she stopped wrestling. She's like, man, now I have a regular job, like this, like normal person. You could kind of sense that she wasn't really happy, and it's not what she wanted to do. As soon as she found this avenue, she just took off with it.
That new avenue was mixed martial arts. How quickly did you realize that you were really good at it?
Well, because I caught on to jiu-jitsu so quickly, I knew that I would be pretty good at it. I don't know, I just have confidence in myself, growing up wrestling. I just knew that I would be great at it.
This program is sponsored by Bet365. This program is sponsored by Bet365.
It is a remarkable story for the undefeated Tatiana Suarez. 8-0. She is the number 2 ranked contender. Prevailing wisdom is if she can get past the challenge that is Nina Ansaroff, that she could be next for Jessica Andrade if Rose Namajunas isn't granted or doesn't want an immediate rematch with the newly minted Brazilian champion. How about that piece on Tatiana Suarez? And I think my biggest takeaway was her mom saying she gets diagnosed with thyroid cancer and she just attacks it like it's a wrestling match. No fear in this woman.
Absolutely incredible. The strength of character that she displays it is incredible. It really is. And combine that with what she's doing inside the octagon, that is also incredible. And with the wrestling career, I mean, this lady is unbelievable in there. She's 4-0 so far in the UFC. 3 of those were finishes, and her last fight against Carla Esparza, a former champion, no disrespect to Carla Esparza, but she dominated her, threw her around. And Carla is a wrestler herself, but she picked her up, she threw her around, elbowed her in the face. It was a very impressive performance.
First of all, beating cancer isn't hard enough. I mean, I watched my stepfather almost die of that. I watched him disintegrate into almost nothing with the chemotherapy. Right. So for her to beat that is unbelievable and an inspiration. Then move on from that and see the things that she's doing in the octagon, missing things had to be taken out of her body, and she's still grinding, built back all that muscle, got through the atrophy, got through everything, and she didn't even blink. You can see it. The way that she moves through life effortlessly like this, grinding through each problem that comes to her, and she doesn't let it, she never becomes a victim of her circumstances, is what I notice about Suarez when you hear this story. And that's something you have to look at as a human being. In fighting, no. she is just a mauler. She hangs on you. She gets the front headlock. She's attacking chokes. She never gets tired. She's constantly moving forward, always aggressive. And because of that, she kind of throws crazy, nonstop, weird angled punches and kicks because all she's going to do is get close to you, underhook you, and just wreck you in the grappling. And that's what she's continued to do every fight so far.
And really, since her time on The Ultimate Fighter in 2016, she has had a lot of expectations heaped upon her. She was called a future champion very early on into her UFC career, and she hasn't had a slip-up yet. The question is, what type of challenge does Nina Ansaroff present here? Certainly a striker who is not afraid of the grind.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, she trains with a fantastic team down at American Top Team. They can prepare you for whatever kind of opponent you're going to face. But the game plan for this fight is pretty simple. You got to stop that wrestling. Suarez probably has the best wrestling in the entire division. So Ansaroff, if she's going to have an answer, pardon the pun.
Ooh,
you see what I did there? You know, I'm here all week, guys. Try the veal. She's going to keep it on the feet. Keep it on the feet and look to try and expose a potential weakness in the striking. Now, I don't think there is a weakness there, but her one and only route to victory in this fight is keep the feet, fight on the feet, and try and neutralize the striking, Dom.
I mean, you face any kickboxer on earth, pure kickboxing, in a kickboxing match, and you shoot and you grab their legs one time, they're going to look at you like, I'll stab you in the face with a knife. Well, in this fight, that can happen the entire fight. It throws off all the striking. You can be the baddest kickboxer on earth. Somebody grabs your legs, it changes your punches, it changes your defense, it changes your offense, it changes everything. So, Nina Ansaroff is going to have to figure out a way to keep the range where she wants it and be able to use the right weapons in the pocket to keep to keep Suarez off of her. Because once Suarez gets in that pocket, she mauls you. So the answer has to be meet in the middle, knees, elbows, get the respect, create the separation, and make this a kickboxing match. If she can't get Suarez to telegraph her shots, it's going to be a long night.
And as you said, Don, for Ansaroff, the problem is when you fight a wrestler, and I've fallen foul to this many, many times, right? So you want to stand there, you want to throw your punches, but the wrestler wants to take you down to the ground. When they stop, racking up the takedowns and they're being successful, you stop throwing. You stop throwing your only ability to win the fight. Why? Because every time you throw a punch, they come underneath, they grab your legs, and they put you down on the ground. So therefore, you become hesitant to throw your own shots.
Right.
Then when you become hesitant to throw, they beat you at your own game.
Yep.
They start punching you in the face. You're like, what is going on?
Right.
I'm getting outboxed by a wrestler.
Right. We see a lot of fighters when they get taken down by someone like Tatiana Suarez, they get discouraged and frustrated. And that was something Ansaroff spoke a lot about when we sat down with her yesterday. She's ready for that type of grind. I think it'll be interesting if she does get taken down that first time, how soon she is able to get back up. But we need a prediction, fellas. Very wide gap in terms of the Las Vegas betting odds at present. Tatiana Suarez, the minus 775 favorite. Nina Ansaroff comes back at plus 575. Who's the pick to click?
I think that Suarez gets it done because you always think you can handle the grind until you got the grinder on you.
Yeah. Until the grind's in your face. Yeah, I totally agree. Tatiana Suarez, she's a special athlete. She really is. She gets the job done this weekend.
All right, the fight that will precede Suarez and Ansaroff closer in terms of the Vegas betting odds. Aljamain Sterling, the minus 135 favorite. Pedro Munoz has seen some action come in on him. He is the plus 105 underdog right now. Let's show you the tail of the tape on Sterling and Munoz. A lot of interesting career parallels when it comes to these two fighters. Both guys made their UFC debuts at UFC 170 in 2014. Both guys are making their 13th UFC appearance. Their professional records nearly identical. Not picture the one no contest for Pedro Munoz. Munoz, the slightly more prolific finisher in this equation, but he will be on the wrong end of the reach advantage against the long and rangy Aljamain Sterling. Dominic, I know you had some time with Pedro Munoz recently in Rio. He's got a big challenge in front of him in the form of the Funk Master.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Sterling has been looking very sharp, but more than anything, I've seen that his mind is just more focused than I've ever seen it. That's what I really notice about Sterling. He's not paying attention to all the nonsense and the noise. He's very focused, but Munoz, to me, has been growing into his style, growing into his maturity as a fighter, and you saw that with this matchup here against Garbrandt for the moving into the better position, basically, on the ladder. And he's just really shown up. So I think Munoz gets the job done in this matchup.
This is one of those fights that keep going back and forth. And when you look at Munoz's last fight against Cody Garbrandt, it's hard to pick against him. What a sensational fight that was. But I don't think Aljamain is going to give him the ability to have that kind of fight. He's got tremendous wrestling. He can shoot a nice single leg from a distance. I think Aljamain is going to use the wrestling. It's going to be a very frustrating fight for Pedro Munoz. I think Aljamain gets a decision.
I love this line that Pedro Munoz keeps going back to. He says the best way to promote is to finish. And that's really the way he approaches it. You know, he doesn't want to be called technical. He wants to get in there. He wants to brawl. He wants to box. And we'll see if, with those little alligator arms, as Aljamain Sterling referred to them, if he can get inside. So that's a bantamweight fight among 3 of them. Actually 4 total, but 3 in terms of the ranked fighters here. Another one is on the pay-per-view. Jimmy Rivera taking on Petr Yan as we show you the bantamweight rankings. The #1 contender, Marlon Moraes, Henry Cejudo, of course, not pictured. You see Aljo and Munoz there, and then Jimmy Rivera, not all that far removed from this 20-fight winning streak, holding down that #7 ranking, but he is a decided betting underdog against the Russian boxer Petr Yan. And Dominic, I know you called Yan's last fight, and you really like what you've seen on film.
Well, I love that Yan floods you with offense and knowledge. It's too much for you to take in. He's switching stance, he's feinting, he's in and out, he counters you, and then he's pure offense, and then he's shooting, and then he's not. He's pretty much everywhere, but what makes most impressive is the way that he's able to mix everything in and out of the pocket and be so slick with it. I think that Rivera's going to have to attack his legs to slow him down, but I still pick Yan in this matchup.
Yeah, 100%, couldn't agree more. I just think Yan has too many ways to win. He's got a more well-rounded game than Jimmy Rivera. Jimmy, of course, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just think, you know, listen, sometimes the guy's just better. And I think Petr Yan, pardon me, has the momentum right now. He's only lost once in his career. He's feeling, you know, he's feeling the flow. You know, he's feeling the energy. He's happy. He's winning fights. I think he wins another one.
Petr Yan, the -330 favorite. Jimmy Rivera, +270. First time Rivera's been a betting underdog since he beat Pedro Munoz back in 2015. All right, well, the fight everybody's talking about, as you guys know, it's the people's main event. It is Tony Ferguson. It is Donald Cowboy Cerrone, and this just in, it's tomorrow night.
So hard to prepare for the man.
His future is in the UFC Hall of Fame. Stakes couldn't be much higher unless there was a belt on the line. Donald Cowboy Cerrone! Cowboy looking to close the show. Tony Ferguson!
He's got that Mexican heart.
Viva Mexico! Cerrone motivated by his 6-month-old son, Danger. That's what I'm here for now.
That's how you turn back the clock.
Oh my God! It is about as good a fight as we could possibly put together. The wait for it ends here.
This fight has some makings to be fight of the night for sure.